What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's 3M Open, coming off of the final major championship of the year. There is no sleep for the weary. We roll on here because professional golf rolls on. So let's get into this. 3M Open, one of the newer events on the PGA Tour schedule. It was introduced along with the Rocket Classic, what was that, 6 or 7 years ago. So we are starting to compile some really good data on TPC Twin Cities, which is where they are going to play this. And you'll see the par fives here are really your scoring opportunities. The 6th hole, the 12th hole have played historically a half stroke under par. The finishing hole, or at least the finishing stretch in general, very gettable. That par 5 18th, that's where we saw Matt Wolff make an eagle to beat Bryson for his first PGA Tour victory, if you remember that. And that is where you're going to see a lot of birdies being made, because 15, 16, 17, and 18 are all, for the most part, playing under par and to a significant bit. There are some ebbs and flows to this golf course. You kind of see here 4 through 8, very gettable, then a little bit more difficult around the turn, 9, 10, and 11 before you get to that second to last par 5 on number 12. And then, of course, the closing stretch that we talked about. So very fun little golf course where you get a ton of runs, a ton of birdie streaks. When you look at the regression model, this is my website. Everything is from my website, RickRunGood.com. You see that this is a pretty average PGA Tour course. It does reward driving accuracy a little bit more, a little bit higher than average when it comes to other PGA Tour courses. It does reward around the green play a little bit more than other PGA Tour courses. But what it really says to me is the best players find a way here, right? Strokes gained total is very sticky, very highly ranked. And then when you look at the secondary stats, you see a lot of different things. You see close approaches, 50 to 75 yards. In this case, it's from the rough. Not a great stat by itself. Putting from 8 feet, that's the 50-50 mark. So now you're talking about our guys, I'll keep going here. Longest holeouts, that's a nothing stat. Putting from 4 to 8 feet, same thing. Consecutive greens in regulation, putting from 9 feet. What does this say to me? This says scoring. So the 8-foot number, the 4 to 8 feet, the 9 feet putting, those are basically the 50-50 spots on the PGA Tour, right? 7 feet, 10 inches, that's 50-50. So if everyone is getting a lot of scoring opportunities, which it kind of seems they are, who is going to take advantage of those scoring opportunities? Okay, that starts to tell a little bit of a story for me. These approaches, so when you get really scoreable par 5s and you see like approaches from inside of 50 yards or 50 to 75 yards or something like that, that usually tells me it's more of a par 5 stat. That's usually after your second shot on a par 5 or something of that nature, where then now you're trying to get up and down for birdie. That's the way that I read that. But with consecutive greens in regulation, with an approach stat, with a bunch of hole out stats and birdie stats and total putt stats, we're looking for birdie makers. We're looking for great approach players. We're looking for great putters. If you take those numbers and overlay them, let's do the last 24 rounds. For every single golfer in this field, let's see who gets the best adjusted fit. Andrew Putnam does. He's a positive approach player. He's a great putter. Matt McCarty does very well in both of those categories. Vince Whaley, Tristan Lawrence, Paul Peterson rounding out the top 5. Sam Burns is the first big boy who gets a pretty good adjusted fit. He's 7th or 8th on this list. So interesting stuff here. I mean, we're gonna ride our horses. I think that's the way to do this. But we're also going to look at our approach and putting guys, are big time scorers. Here's the cheat sheet on RickRunGood.com. There are 3 golfers over $10,000 this week. I'm pretty warm on all of them. Sam Burns, Maverick McNeely, and Chris Goddard. I think what we're going to find is that there is a precipitous, did I use that word correctly, drop off when you start getting down pretty close to the top of this board. Between those 3 and kind of some others. So I think there's going to be some pretty big cliffs that we go off of here. Let's start with Sam Burns. He's the most expensive. If you have watched golf at any point in the last 5 years, or if you watched this show at any point in the last 5 years, Sam Burns, you would know that Sam Burns has the skill set that is usually great approach play and great putting. You see that in the numbers here. He lost strokes putting at Royal Portrush, but that ended a streak of positive putting dating back to Phoenix was the last time that he lost prior to that. And after this slump in the middle of the year on approach play from Genesis to the PGA Championship, he has been much better on approach, piling up usually multiple strokes there every single time he tees it up. I bet you if I go down and look at, it's not perfect, but you can see his last 100 rounds, it's almost completely left to right, which is putting and approach. So pretty cool to see that as well. And then if you look at his 3M history stuff, it's 3 starts, not every year, but he played here in 2019 and 2020, and then he played here last year, 7th, 32nd, and 12th. He's never lost strokes from tee to green. He has taken advantage of the ball striking metrics. This seems like a pretty good spot to run out Sam Burns here. Pretty good course fit, pretty good course history. I do like this quite a bit. The only problem is that he's 10,500, but I think we're going to be able to make plenty of lineups around that. Maverick McNealy and Chris Gotterup are 2 also interesting stories. McNealy has been probably much better than you think. Also a great putter, not really as known as much for his approach play, but he's been really, really strong off the tee in 2025. He's healthy again. This is great. This is a well-rounded player who finished 17th at the Travelers, 22nd at the Scottish, 23rd at the Open. That's a signature event, a national championship, and a major championship. It's really, really strong stuff. So I like the way that McNealy is trending. He's got a lot of, not that these guys all don't have things to play for. They all do, but McNealy is very much in the Ryder Cup conversation. I think he'd be very pairable. You know, there are some guys that have definitely underperformed for the United States team. It's probably a dog that McNealy makes that team, but I think he thinks he's playing for it. Great history around the 3M Open, just a lot of stuff in the positive direction for McNealy here. So we're going to see, especially on Wednesday when we get to the live chat, what the projected ownership on these 3 golfers is, and we can make some decisions from there, but pretty warm on all 3. And then Chris Gotterup. Nobody has changed their life and their career trajectory more than Chris Gotterup in the last 8 rounds. He wins the Scottish Open. Boom. Now you're in everything. You are, you're almost certainly going to be in the Tour Championship. You play the Open, which you weren't even qualified for until you won the Scottish, and you finished 3rd there. Massive payday, like $2.8 million over the last 8 days. Just now he's in a different spot. And those are not outliers. I mean, he's been playing great golf since Punta Cana. Every time the field has gotten better, he's gotten better. He has a really good skill set. He's a prolific scorer, or at least he has the ability, just immense firepower. We're going to learn a lot about Chris Gotterup right now. Was that a 2-week heater on links style golf? And now what? Now that he's out of that bubble, does this continue? He is another guy. Outside chance for the Ryder Cup. But if he stays playing this well over the course of the next 5 weeks, his life is going to change and his career is going to change because he can take this stuff, play well into the playoffs, make a deep run. The Tour Championship, everybody starts at even. Everybody started at even at the Open. Everybody started at even at the Renaissance Club. Could Chris Gotterup finish inside the top 5 of the Tour Championship and just absolutely change his life? If he does all of that, is he on the Ryder Cup team after what would be like a really strong 10 weeks? So I think we're going to learn a lot about Chris Gotterup. What did Kobe say? Job's not done. Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you smiling? Job's not done. Job's not done for Chris Gotterup. He's got a lot to play for. So those are the big 3. And I'm going to have pretty good exposure to the big 3. We'll see what the DFS ownership as the week rolls on. And there's no better place to sweat the action than DraftKings Daily Fantasy, the ultimate destination for fantasy golf fans. Right now, DraftKings is giving new customers a chance to play free for their share of millions in prizes with their first deposit on the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. It's simple to play. Build your dream lineup while staying under the salary cap, then sit back and watch as your players rack up points. Every birdie, every bogey, every clutch putt Feel the intensity of every shot. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and enter promo code RickDFS to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. That's RickDFS for new DraftKings customers. Just download the Daily Fantasy app today. The crown is yours. We go to the 9K range, and I'm already feeling a bit queasy. Do I trust Wyndham Clark? Do I trust Ricky Fowler or Max Grazerman or Siwoo Kim or Tony Finau? The answers are mostly no. Would I rather go down to an 8K range and start piling up on Jake Knapp and Michael Thorbjornsen and Emiliano Grillo and Akshay Bhatia? Yeah, probably. But let's talk about what's going on in this range here. So Wyndham Clark had a very similar run that Bryson DeChambeau did at the Open, which is a really, really bad start and a 3 unbelievable finishes. Now, I want to show you something here, and this is getting very deep into the weeds. This is the new radar tool on RickRunGood.com. It's got shot shapes and spin rates and all this stuff. It does not surprise me that Bryson and Wyndham had 3 really good rounds when the wind was down. So Wyndham plays a massively curvy, spinny game. Okay, 91 feet of curve on average. That is the biggest on the PGA Tour as far as I'm concerned. Let's see here. Yeah, biggest on the PGA Tour. I'll even get rid of, that was actually last week's field. I'll have to load this week's field in here. But 91 feet of curve, almost exclusively left to right. Luke Clanton, the only guy who does it bigger. When you start getting wind that hits that, things go sideways. Bryson has talked a lot about spin on his golf ball and how it's being impacted because of his launch angles, and he plays better when there's no wind. I'm not saying, I don't want to poo-poo what Wyndham Clark did at the Open, because he also played very well at the Scottish Open, and we've started to see just bits of better play out of him. I do think this is being propped up a touch by ideal conditions, a very hot putter that is probably unsustainable. You know, he's gained over 6 strokes putting in each of his last 2 starts, which is 8 rounds. He's lost strokes on approach in like 7 of his last 9. I think this is being propped up a little bit by some stuff that's unsustainable, and this could go sideways pretty quickly. So maybe the lowest floor, highest ceiling player in the upper part of this board here, but it's pretty unlikely that I get a lot of exposure to Wyndham. I have not played a lot of Ricky Fowler over the course of the last year or so, and that has not burned me. Playing a $9,500 Ricky Fowler doesn't excite me that much, but it's obviously relative to the field. He's playing better than I think even I thought. Okay, so he misses the cut at Detroit Golf Club, which was a very, let's call it a public missed cut, because that's a place he's always had great success at, and he misses the cut there. He doesn't play particularly well. Outside of that, the rest of his run since the PGA Championship has been very good. 16th at the Charles Schwab, 7th at the Memorial, and then his last 2, John Deere, T18 in the Open, T14. Did you know Ricky Fowler finished T14 at the Open? Kind of very low key. I'm still worried about these second shots. He's about average, maybe a little bit better than average over his last 7 or 8 starts on approach. He's driving it a lot better, which is something that has come in 2025. The putter is starting to heat up a little bit. If we like the correlation of around the green players, that gives him a bump as well. He's played here twice, but it hasn't been since 2021 and 2022, and both of those finishes were in the 30s. It probably speaks to this range of golfers that I'm not very excited about, where Ricky Fowler is probably my 3rd favorite in this range. The 2 that make me a little bit more excited are Taylor Pendrith and Max Grazerman. We'll start with Grazerman. I'm forgiving very quickly here on Grazerman. His run of splendid golf from the Masters to the Rocket has come to a halt. 2 missed cuts overseas. I look at this a couple of ways. That is a very different style of golf. It would not surprise me one single bit for him to get back to TPC Twin Cities and just continue his treachery on the PGA Tour. Finished runner-up here last year with a complete gain across the board in every category. Even the missed cuts overseas were both on the number. I mean, he lost a half a stroke or fewer over the course of 2 rounds, and the Friday round at the Open was awesome. He gained 4.5 strokes to the field there. He just gave it all up on Thursday. So I can forgive this very quickly and be back in on Max Grazerman. Taylor Pendrith is probably a little bit more solid, more suitable. He also missed the cut at the Open, so he's probably been back for a while, but that was his first missed cut since the Byron Nelson. He's a very good around the green player, very good putter. He heats it up in a big way. So Grazerman, Pendrith, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call that, and then probably Ricky Fowler as the third man in the 9K range, which is shocking to even me. I will point out Sungjae Im's profile, and we are still running on a streak of losing strokes on approach dating back to the Masters. Say that again. Sungjae Im, historically great ball striker, has not gained strokes on approach since the Masters. And he has not gained 1 stroke or more since PGA National, which was the first week of March. It's been a very, very bad year for Sungjae, and there is not a lot of signs that is going to turn anytime soon. The 8K range actually has some of the hotter golfers in this field. So last 35 rounds for everybody in this field on the trends tool. So this is taking their 100 round baseline, then looking at what they've done over the last 35 and giving them like a new trend number. Chris Goddard, obviously trending up significantly. Sam Burns is on there as well. Well, look at the first 2 8K guys that pop up. Michael Thorbjornsen's 5th on this list in the field, and Jake Knapp is 6th. So Jake Knapp has now earned, I'll round this, but 4 straight top 25 finishes. A lot of really sound play, especially from tee to green, except for the Scottish Open. He gained 10 strokes putting at the Scottish Open, which is nuts. He finished T22nd. That is unsustainable. But again, like if you have the worst X week of your life, pitch, driving, approach, putting, whatever, and you do it on a golf course that is unique or different than what you see all the time, it's hard to care. So that's the first time Jake Knapp's ever played in Europe, I'm pretty sure he said, right? It's like, I've never been to Scotland. I've never been to Europe. Like I'm playing golf. Like this is crazy. The fact that he lost 6 strokes on approach and another 3 around the greens and was still able to finish 22nd is kind of nuts. So I'll give him a nice hat tip for that one. But outside of that, the 3 previous have been awesome. He withdrew from this event last year. I do not remember that at all. It looks like he withdrew after the completion of the 3rd round. He was pretty good through 2 rounds. He was miserable. I don't know if he was injured or something. Miserable in round 3, and then he withdrew. But it's been a very, very good year for Jake Knapp. He's immensely talented. He's a big-time scorer. Michael Thorbjornsen, now that he's got JJ Jakovic on the bag, now that he's getting some more, I almost call it playing time, like he's in the NBA. But yeah, like playing time, like he's playing more starts. The results are starting to come in. A complete gain at the Rocket where he finished T4, backs it up with a T21 at the John Deere, backs it up with a T14 at the ISCO. I like the tee to green numbers. So that is 12 plus 6 is 17 strokes gained from tee to green over his last 12 rounds. This is very, very strong stuff. The bizarre WD in the first round of the Charles Schwab, well behind him. If we remove that, it's every cut dating back to the Texas Open. So this is really sound play, and I feel like he's contended. No, that was the Rocket that I think I'm thinking of. He missed the cut here last year, gained 3.5 strokes on approach. But yeah, this is those are pretty firmly the 2 best options in the 8K range for me. I would be interested in Luke Clanton. I would be interested in Akshay Bhatia. I want to look at Max Homa's profile just to see what's going on. He played the Barracuda. Yeah. Okay. So played the Barracuda, finished 45th. We don't get there was not shot link, so we don't get the strokes game breakdown here. The John Deere, he finished T5 and hit it a lot better. Boy, oh boy. Is this enough? The ball striking numbers of the John Deere were really good. The T45 of the Barracuda is not good, but he had 2 rounds where he gained at least 3.5 strokes to the field. Wow. Okay. I want to be interested in this. I mean, the class of Max Homa is so good. He's $8,300. Maybe I'll just get exposure to Homa in like a top 5 market where if he plays well and he's in the mix, that's fine. I don't need him to win. I do think his floor is incredibly low, but we're close. We're really close. He's played here twice. 3rd in 2020, long time ago, and 79th in 2019. Man, we'll see how the week goes for Max Homa, but I would love to be early on Max Homa. The 7K range, and oh yeah, now we can get our hands dirty in the 7K range. I would not be surprised if the optimal lineup was just 6 guys from the 7K range, quite honestly. Rico Hoey. Love this man. He's $7,800. He finished T8 at the Barracuda last week, and I'm pretty sure he led after 3 rounds and had a very, very miserable Sunday, but not super concerned about that. 34th at the ISCO, 11th at the John Deere. This is the type of field that Rico Hoey kind of dominates in. 7th at Myrtle Beach earlier this year, another weak field that he's going to get. Vince Whaley, the Whale Man, I don't know, what's his nickname, hasn't missed a cut since the Texas Open. He is also kind of a weak field specialist. 7th in Punta Cana, 4th at the ISCO, 23rd at the Barracuda. I'll even give him the 11th at Charles Schwab. That's pretty good. The 15th at Byron Nelson, even better. Only one finish outside the top 40. And that was the T52 in Canada. So yeah, I mean, I should probably be giving him more credit than what he's actually been doing. He's missed the cut twice here, each of his last 2 times, but they were 2020 and 2021. Doug Gim, another top 20 at the Barracuda last week. So now we've got Doug Gim, who has gained 18 or 19 strokes to the field over his last 12 rounds. Is he going to get exposed at the Canadian Open? Yeah, probably. Missed the cut there. Is he going to get exposed at Oakmont? Yeah, probably. Missed the cut there. Is he going to get exposed at the Rocket or the John Deere or the 3M? Like, nah, probably not going to get exposed there. He's played here 5 times. That might be the most of anybody, quite honestly. And has never he's made 4 cuts, all 27th or better. He missed the cut here in 2021. He has dominated from tee to green at the 3M Open. He has often putted quite well, or at least has a high upside with the putter at TPC Twin Cities. Firepower abound in Matty Schmid. You don't always see it, because he is about as volatile as it gets, but drives it beautifully. The putter, look at the putter. So he loses 9 strokes putting at Portrush. Not going to beat him up for that. Gained 5 the week before at the Renaissance Club. Gained 6 the week prior at the BMW International Open. High risk, high reward. Actually, the more I look at it, the less I like it, but high risk, high reward. Christian Bezuidenhout played the freaking Open Championship last week. How is he $7,200? This man plays like a top. I have no idea what his world rank is. I'm going to guess and then I'm going to look it up. I guess it is 40th. It's 65th. So maybe I was giving him a little bit too much credit, but this is a golfer who is historically a phenomenal putter, and we are seeing that again here in 2025. He loses more frequently than he normally does, but his gains are still very big. +7 at the Travelers, +5 at the US Open, +2.5 at the Scottish Open. You got me. Now look at the combination of the approach play. He's gained strokes on approach in 4 out of his last 5, in 7 of his last 9, often 2 to 5 over the course of 4 rounds. I think he is much better than his peers in this price range. So he is priced in a place where, like, Eric Van Rooyen last week played the Barracuda. It's nothing wrong with that. Played well, actually. But why is Christian so cheap? I like that a lot. And then Matt McCarty, another man that I cannot quit. I've got a Xander problem and I've got a Matt McCarty problem. He's missed 2 of his last 3 cuts. They were not bad. The John Deere, he missed the cut on the number, gained strokes to the field that week. He missed the cut at the Open. I don't really care about that. 22nd at the Scottish, 19th at the Rocket. He is an approach and putting guy. He's usually actually a pretty good like tee to green player. He does not need to be long off the tee here, which is good because he's not. I just can't believe he's had such a bad year. It's getting better, but we need more out of we need this T4 out of Matt McCarty. If you haven't been paying attention, William Mao won the ISCO. What was that, 2 weeks ago? He is $7,000 even. Antoine Rosner, oh my God, he just played the Open as well. He's $6,900. See what he's been up to. Yeah, made the cut at the Open. He has now made every cut dating back to the American Express. Positive tee to green player, positive approach player, positive putter. Yeah, well, like just much too cheap. He's probably gonna contend this week. He's now. Imagine him licking his chops, walking into this field like, I'm just gonna slap you dorks around. That's what he's thinking right now. He's $6,900, so I've already kicked off the $6,000 range. Ricky Castillo's gone 34th at the ISCO, 23rd at the Barracuda. 2 weak fields. He's gonna get another weak field. Tristan Lawrence has played a much more difficult schedule and has had worse results, but 44th at the John Deere, missed cut at the Scottish, made the cut, 45th at the Open. Garrick Higo, let's keep an eye on. He withdrew during the second round of the Barracuda. Probably wasn't going to play him anyway, but need to keep an eye on that. Chris Ventura has played well, but not for 4 rounds at a time. David Skins has back-to-back top 8 finishes and has 3 top 10s in his last 5 starts. The last 2 are those 2 weak field events. And he finished 24th here last year. I want to see what the model has to say. Joel Damon's in this field and presumably with a new caddy. I don't know who it's going to be, but he's split with Gino. Oh my God. Sorry, Gino. So they've split. Joel Damon played the Barracuda. He finished T17. Good sign there. Joel is, over the last 200 rounds, probably one of the better tee to green players in this field. That's a long time. I'm banking on a lot of other stuff. Maybe this is the spark that he needs. Would not mind taking a risk on Joel Damon, considering the fact that, like, Brandt Snedeker is here. No, thank you. Let's run a model, see what the model has to say. So, custom model, RickRunGood.com. We are going to do, we're going to do approach play. We're going to do putting for sure. So let's do this. Let's do 36 rounds. We are going to do strokes gained approach last 24 for 20. Strokes gained putting last 24 for 20. And then what I will also do is add a little more on greens and regulation. I will also add a little more on putts inside 10 feet. Then I will do course history for TPC Twin Cities. If I can find it. There it is. For 15. Which leaves me 25 left. I think I want scoring. Scoring. Let's do easy courses for 10. And let's do birdie or better gained for 15. My number one golfer is Sam Burns. Interesting. Emiliano Grillos, 2. Andrew Putnam, 3. Cam Champ, 4. Patrick Fishburne, season 5. Nick Hardy, Alex Noren, Max Grazerman, Akshay Bhatia, Taylor Pendrith. I'm just going to click some favorites here so that I don't forget to either look at these guys later or see what's going on. But Zadenhout was 14 for me. Chris Gotterup was 15 for me. Just clicking some names so I don't forget about them when I start making lineups later. Okay. Great. That'll do it. Wednesday live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. We'll look at the ownership. We'll make a decision about those guys at the top of the board, and we will do much, much more. All right. Later.